Hey Queens, you know what I've always wanted to be? A storyteller. And that journey began quite young when I was around 12 or 13. We'll get to that in a bit. But first, grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab whatever snack you want, because we're about to get crazy and I'm gonna take you on a wild ride. So yes, I used to be a fashion blogger. Back in the day when fashion bloggers had actual blogs. Y'all remember that? Like Miss Chiara Ferrani, aka the Blonde Salad. I remember when her logo was just her and a tub of salad. So I've been here a while, creating some or the other form of content on the internet. Since the very early days of social media. I'm talking like 2011. That's only a year after Instagram was first launched, and 2 years before I first joined it. Now, as an awkward teen, desperate for social clout and approval from my peers, as well as strangers on the internet, social media was a miracle space. Especially Facebook, where there was never a shortage of creepy middle-aged men wanting to court me, and where I would personally DM my Facebook friends to hit a like every time I updated my Facebook status. Yeah, I actually did that. But my content creation journey though had started a long time before that. In circa 2009 to 10, when inspired by the likes of Michelle and Promise Fun, I would post my own beauty videos on YouTube. Mercifully, I do not have any footage of that, and if any of you ever manage to find those videos, don't send it to me. And also, no you didn't. Fast forward a few years later, and my desire to get my voice out to people over the World Wide Web led me to take up creative writing on a little internet blog called The Diary of a Creative Misfit. I can't explain it, but that name is like so millennial coded. Now this blog, which is still up by the way, was an outlet for me to throw out my opinion about any and every topic that struck my fancy, test out my creative writing skills, as well as my skills in prose and poetry. However, I still hadn't made my foray into fashion blogging, but all of that was about to change. Because baby, Instagram had just come along, and it was a place for artists and creatives and people who wanted to express themselves by putting a sepia filter on their salad photos. And you know what? I wanted nothing more than to be exactly like them. So I started an Instagram account at the Bohemian Indian if anyone wants to follow me, link in the description. And off I went on this new journey of self-discovery. Ooh. Honestly, it was quite fun to have a platform where I could share my thoughts with people and find other like-minded individuals. You see, Instagram was more of an educational platform for me in the beginning, aka a place where I could ignore my friends and family and people I knew in real life and just follow accounts that gave me some sort of creative inspiration. I should still mention, of course, that at this point I still had an actual blog where I would post write-ups and articles about various topics, which now included fashion. Because that's what it meant to be a fashion blogger back then. It wasn't just about wearing cute and trendy clothing and then posting about it on Instagram. You also had to have something to say with it, new ideas that you were bringing to the table. And your ideas had to create a conversation or inform people about things like fashion and styling. Because you were the source, an informant, a way for people to know the what's what of fashion. So yes, at the age of 16, not only was I putting in the effort of doing semi-elaborate photo shoots of myself styled in new outfits every week, but I was also making blog posts about it, offering insights and advice to people like I was a writer from Vogue magazine. And people seemed to like it. Word got out about it in school and some people knew me for it. And the few who actually gave it a read seemed to appreciate my content quite a bit. I knew because when I wouldn't update my blog or my Instagram for a while, I'd have people coming up to me to ask why I hadn't been posting. As someone with major perfectionism issues and imposter syndrome all my life, this was very surprising to me. I was always like, wow, so this is what it's like to know you're being perceived. Weird. My blog also helped me stand out amongst my peers in fashion college, a lot of whom took note of me because of my styling choices. To be fair, I did work quite hard on my styling and photo shoots, or as hard as I could, being a broke college student with limited resources and whatnot. And I still do, baby, in case you couldn't tell. And it worked. For a while there, my blog saw a good amount of growth, going from around 50 followers at the start of my first year in college to almost 800 by the second year. I don't even think I interacted with more than 5 people in that entire span of time, which means people were actually following me for my content. I know. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Unfortunately, though, this is where it all goes downhill. So I was on somewhat of an upward trajectory, and with that rate of growth, I could have easily hit around maybe 2,000 followers by the end of 2017. 2,000 loyal followers who would have decided to get on board because they believed in the quality of my content, and not because of some accidental viral moment, the success of which I would never be able to recreate ever again in my life. Or so I'd hoped. But alas, life had other plans for me. You see, in the early part of 2017, I had to undergo a surgery for ovarian torsion. Nothing major, just a cyst the size of a small lemon that had grown so big inside my body that it was causing my literal fallopian tube to twist on itself and giving me excruciating pain. So, no big deal. Anyhow, I had to get a surgical procedure to remove it, and afterwards, in order to allow my body to heal and recover, I was told not to wear any tight or restrictive clothing and avoid all forms of vigorous physical exercise for 2 months. Ooh, death sentence. Plus, my body was bloated as hell, while my organs were trying to rearrange themselves in order to fill up the space left behind by this cyst. So yeah, fun times. At least I think that's what was happening. I'm not really sure, I don't remember much about that time. What I do remember though is that my confidence was at an all-time low. I didn't really feel like dressing up anymore, and that meant fashion blogging had to take a backseat. Unfortunately, if you thought that's the end of it, things were about to get a whole lot worse. Sometime after my surgery, I developed a mysterious pain that emerged from the very depths of my hip, and that would not go away or get better no matter how much physiotherapy I did, how many pain meds I took, or how many stretches I stretched. Now, I'm not saying that the two things are related, and certainly none of my doctors have ever suspected that either. But also, if the math is mathing, I don't know. I didn't say anything. But also, I'm kidding, of course. Anyhow, this new condition was a major turning point in my life because every day it was getting worse and worse, and we were nowhere close to figuring out what it was. Spoiler alert, we still don't know. A while after my surgery, I tried to get back into fashion blogging once again, but this mysterious illness was creeping into every aspect of my life and making it extremely difficult for me to function. I'm not going to bore you with the sad details, but let's just say that at some point, my pain grew so much that it was difficult for me to walk or even stand without support, and I had to use a wheelchair to get from place to place. Needless to say, it was devastating. I also just want to say that being a blogger is very hard work, especially if you're a full-time student or a working professional. You've got to make the time to put together new and innovative outfits every single day, document that with snazzy photo shoots, and then write blog posts about it.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And if you're putting yourself out there as a public figure, you also suddenly find yourself subject to society's beauty standards, which you then have to try and fit into as well. I know everyone is subject to those standards in some way or the other, but it's much worse if you're in the public eye. I also know that some people might be thinking, who cares?
what people think. Just do what you want. You don't have to worry about that.
Well, here's the thing, you don't want to, but inevitably you do end up caring. Because people on the internet are mean and they treat you like absolute dog shit if you don't fit conventional beauty standards. It doesn't matter how big or small of an internet personality you might be. And even if no one is directly saying anything, you do end up feeling like crap about yourself being into fashion. Because everyone around you is either impossibly beautiful and or impossibly self-conscious all the time. And at a time when I was in excruciating pain, trying to perform everyday tasks and just trying to, well, exist, fashion and how I presented myself was the least of my concerns. So I quit, or at least I took a break from it all, just until I felt better again, till I felt like a normal human again. But alas, what I didn't know was that the algorithm does not react kindly to people who abandon their posts and stop feeding its ravenous appetite. During the final year of my college and after my graduation, I tried sporadically and unsuccessfully to get back into the world of fashion blogging. But that realm had evolved faster than I had realized or had time to notice, and unfortunately, I was horribly out of touch. You see, in an online landscape where every social media app was trying to become TikTok, Instagram influencers too had moved on to creating reels as a way of gaining engagement. I was still stuck on my photo shoots and old-fashioned blog posts. I was nothing but a dinosaur, while the world around me had moved on to the nuclear age. Every creator was in 3008, while I was just 2000 and late. But that's not all that put me off traditional fashion blogging, including with the practice of being a blogger. Was I even trying to be a blogger anymore? Or was I trying to be an influencer? Because there is a difference between those two things. In trying to keep up with a rapidly evolving digital landscape as well as catering to its algorithmic overlords, a lot of us forgot or were forced to forget the reasons why we began documenting our fashion in the first place. We weren't trying to be teachers or authority figures in the field of fashion, which is how you must project yourself in order to be taken seriously as an influencer. It was always supposed to be about community, about sharing ideas, opinions, and the mutual adoration for fashion with other like-minded people. That's not the role of an influencer. I began to wonder what exactly was I trying to influence people to do. Consume more, waste more, chase a bunch of useless trends to no avail. Is that really the impact I wanted to have on people? No, absolutely not. Duh. In the summer of 2019, I graduated from the National Institute of Fashion Technology with a bachelor's in fashion design. In the same year, I applied to study sustainable design in Kingston University. At this point, I had completely given up on the idea of fashion blogging. I had given up not just on the idea of being a blogger myself, but also given up on following the practices of other bloggers and influencers, as well as keeping up with fashion trends. And then with the advent of COVID and most of us being stuck indoors with nowhere to go and no reason to dress up for, the whole concept of trends and fashion just felt kind of pointless and superficial. Actually, a small correction. I was still following the work of certain fashion content creators, but they were not your traditional fashion influencers. Far from it, in fact. I started following the work of creators like Bernadette Banner, Morgan Donner, Kathy Hay, and Carolina Zabrowska, who taught me a lot about the practices of slow fashion and sustainability, in addition to stuff about historical costuming, of course. They were a huge influence in helping me decide the kind of influence that I wanted to have on people on the internet. And when I got the opportunity to conduct a digital cultural probe for my first master's project, for which I also made a separate YouTube and Instagram profile, I decided to convert that page into a means for spreading a message about slow fashion and sustainability. And for a while I was really hyped about it, considering that my first internet challenge had garnered such an enthusiastic response from people who would regularly think of new content ideas, record reels for it, and then post them to my page. For a while I was really consistent, and as expected, it began to give my page some serious traction. But I was still a full-time student, and eventually the pressure of trying to balance my academics with this newfound passion became a lot. Plus, the problem with trying to cater to a specific topic or niche is that you must somehow figure out a way to make every internet trend about that topic or niche. Oh, a silly internet dance trend? Now I have to rack my brains to figure out how I can make this about sustainability and slow fashion, which sometimes worked and then at other times it was really a reach. And after 3 to 4 weeks of trying but failing to keep up with my posting schedule, I began hearing that oh so familiar little voice in my head that has been following me around since the time I was a teenager, sabotaging every creative project of mine. And it was saying to me once more, you should stop. You are not good enough. Ugh, so annoying. In trying to fulfill all of my commitments at the same time, I was still battling chronic pain, and eventually it just became too much. So I gave up and quit, just like I always did.
Fight!
You thought that was the end, huh? Well, it ain't. Buckle up, because I'm about to change your life. Whew. Did that work? Was that cool? Am I still... Which brings me to the here and the now. So what am I doing here today? Why am I here? Okay, so this is not exactly a motivational video, to be honest. As I mentioned in the very beginning, I've always wanted to be a storyteller. And I wanted this to be the first story that I tell as part of my new journey here on ye old YouTube. I know this is a story that probably no one really cares about, and yet I wanted to share it because there is a message at the end of this. I started writing stories from the age of 8, and while the means and medium of creativity might have changed over the years, what hadn't changed was this fundamental need for self-expression and human connection. And while the challenges of a changing algorithm and balancing my passions with academics, work, and chronic pain both played a major role in making me lose sight of this all-important need, I did come to realize when I delved into my past during the course of this video that A, I've always been really damn cool, and B, most of the time, comparison and being overly self-critical were the main obstacles that came in the way of me achieving my goals. It's not that other people didn't think I was good enough, it's that I thought I wasn't good enough to tell my own stories. It's only when I chased every possible avenue of escape and every alternate life path that could supposedly fulfill me that I realized that the only thing I'm supposed to do was always right there, in front of me, as hard as I tried to run from it. So, what's the lesson here? If you have a calling, don't ignore it. I did for 15 years. 15 years! For 15 years, I kept ignoring my passion and giving into that little voice in my head. And guess what? It didn't make it go away. The urge to create, to reach out, and to share my voice with others did not go away. In fact, it just became stronger. So don't wait as long as I did just because you're afraid of failure or other people's judgment, or because you believe there's some kind of standard life path that everyone needs to adhere to. Like, those are all valid concerns, but I believe that all of us need to just once in our lives throw ourselves headlong into our passions. Just once. If it fails, it fails. At least you'll know. Also, what if it doesn't? What if it works? That's what I'm here to find out. Okay, so I lied a little bit. Just a tiny amount. I'm still a little bit of a fashion blogger. I still want to make content related to fashion, beauty, and styling because I enjoy dressing up and I have such tremendous respect for the craft of fashion. But I also want to try new things and have new life experiences and share that with you guys over here so that you too can come on the journey with me. But anyways guys, that's all for today. It's been so great chatting with all of you. Thanks for listening to my yapping. Unfortunately, I will be back to do it once again, and I hope that when I do, I'll see you there. Okay, kiss kiss kiss. Bye.